Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a new week. Hope you're all doing really well. We are starting the 9-day liver cleanse challenge today, and I am on board with that. So we are on day one. It's pretty exciting. We've got about 30 people joining in with us. Steve did his a little bit early. He's on day 8, I think. So I'm starting day one today. Really looking forward to it. Just so looking forward to eating really good fresh food. I do a lot of that anyway, but I have slipped into a few little habits that aren't really necessary. So I've decided that this is what I'm going to be doing, and yeah, I'll keep you posted on how it goes. I apologize for the lighting in here. I was down in the office and then Steve kicked me out because he's got a client down there. So I had to quickly scurry upstairs and find another spot. So today we're talking about how a high-fat diet will shorten your life. And I have talked about this before, and I'm actually going to refer to an article that I wrote a few months ago about this. And the reason I like to bring this one up, semi-regularly is that it really amazes me how many people are following high-fat diets. And we see quite a few people through our coaching practice who have followed a high-fat diet, or they are following a high-fat diet, and they come to us because they've got lots of health issues going on. And so we have to explain to them that, high fat is really not the way to go. Good morning, Linda. Day one of the liver cleanse. Linda's doing the liver cleanse with me. It's all very exciting. Hope you're doing well so far, Linda. All right. So as I said, this is a subject that comes up a lot, even in passing, like because I'm tuned into conversations around this theme. I overhear people talking about being on the keto diet and, see what they're doing with in cafes and things like that with their meals. And I think it's just a really good message to keep getting out there that a high fat diet is not good for you. And I know it's really, really trendy. And there's been different kind of versions of high-fat diets over the years. Many of you will remember the Atkins diet. You'll definitely know the keto diet, which is all the rage at the moment. They're generally the same thing. Things kind of get changed in minor ways, like there might be a few more greens thrown in here and there. But essentially it's the same. So it's high-fat and low-carb. And I want to explain to you what happens in the body when you start eating a lot of fat. So the first thing that happens, and naturally with a high fat diet, you eat low carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are your fruits, your vegetables, your grains, things like that. So what happens when you start lowering your carb? Sorry, that was a glitch. My battery's going low. That was just a little notification on my phone. Sorry about that. What happens is that when the body becomes depleted of carbohydrates, which is the body's main fuel source, the body goes, hang on a minute, I've got a really busy day and I've got no fuel. So what the body does is it starts to release adrenaline, which is a stress hormone. And what happens is that you can end up feeling irritable, you can be edgy, you can be grumpy with people. And people with a lot of adrenaline in the body tend to not sleep very well, and also they end up craving salty and sweet carbohydrate dense foods. So even if you're the most committed and motivated person eating a high fat low carb diet, eventually your body is going to succumb to the need for natural sugars. And so what happens is that people doing the keto diet, they go for so long and they go, oh yeah, I'm starting to lose some weight. But then because they're not getting enough carbohydrates, the body's desperate for fuel and it's desperate for natural sugars. So then you start to binge. So you end up eating all the pizza and all the chips and, all the chocolate. And then you end up putting all that weight back on plus some more. So that's an ongoing cycle for people who are, yo-yo dieting. High-fat diets are a real problem when it comes to yo-yo dieting because, yes, in the beginning, people can start to lose some weight, and it's often because they're cutting out processed foods or, cutting down on alcohol and things like that. So they will start to see initial weight loss, but that low carb approach is not sustainable for people because the body naturally needs carbohydrates to survive. So what happens to the other thing that happens when you go low carb is your blood sugar levels drop. Okay, so your adrenal glands actually have to step in to produce extra cortisol to draw glycogen out of your liver and your muscles. You end up having low energy levels and you end up having sugar cravings, and of course then you end up with fat storage. Okay, now let me tell you about what happens to the liver on a high fat diet, and this is one of the reasons I'm talking about this today, is because I'm on this liver cleanse, so it's top of mind for me at the moment. And one of the things that we're doing in this liver cleanse is we are reducing fat quantities, and that is going to help the liver do its job of detoxing the body. So too much fat in the diet leads to thick, sludgy blood. You can imagine when you've got a high fat diet, your blood becomes thick with saturated fat and it becomes really sludgy. And so when you've got really sludgy blood, there's not enough oxygen in the blood. And if there's not enough oxygen in the blood that goes to the liver, because the liver's job is to filter all the blood, if there's not enough oxygen in that blood, the liver will actually weaken and it can become fatty, and you end up with fatty liver disease. So what happens is that the liver is there to break down all the fats in the body. The liver's got over 2,000 functions in the body, and breaking down fats is a really important function. And what happens is that when there's too much fat in the body, the liver becomes sluggish, and it can't draw nutrients from the blood correctly, and many of the nutrients end up trapped in fat cells. So when your cells get caked in fat, I'm talking about the cells surrounding the liver becomes caked in fat, and that also leads to fatty liver disease. So from a liver point of view, a high fat diet is really, really damaging. Okay, let me tell you about what happens to the heart. So picture that thick, sludgy blood that I just mentioned. So you've got thick blood running through the body. Now, what is the heart's job? The heart is there to pump blood around the body. Now, you imagine the difficult job the heart has when the blood is thick and sludgy with fat. So a high fat diet puts a lot of pressure on the heart. It also leads to clogged arteries, high cholesterol, and eventually heart disease. Now, the other problem with high fat diets is that as a natural consequence of that, like I mentioned, you start to reduce your carbohydrate intake, and one of the really important forms of carbs that we should be eating is fruit. And there seems to be this thing around fruit at the moment. Even doctors, can you believe it, are telling people that they shouldn't be eating fruit. I'm working with some diabetic people at the moment, and their doctor has told them to stop eating fruit, which just blows my mind because the fruit is going to be the thing that heals them the most. So a high fat diet tends to cut down on how much veggies and fruit you're having. Now, fruit is so important because it strengthens your immune system. It activates the immune system so that the immune system can get to work, getting rid of all the toxins in the body. It's crucial for our organs. Our organs thrive on fruit, particularly the liver and the brain. And the fruit is just packed with, antioxidants and healing properties. It's very, very good for healing the body. Really, you've got to adopt some common sense when it comes to fruit. So when you think about it logically, fruit has been on the earth for thousands of years, and it has helped humans survive and thrive for thousands of years. Why all of a sudden is fruit regarded as the enemy? It doesn't make sense. Look at a piece of fruit. You go and pick a crunchy red apple off the tree and tell me that that's not good for you. It doesn't make any sense. Look at the color, look at the vibrancy, look at the freshness in fruit. Your body desperately, desperately needs fruit to heal. So that's all I've got to say on the subject today. I've managed to keep it relatively short. I'm just going to do a quick recap about how a high-fat diet will shorten your life. Okay, the first one is when you start reducing carbohydrates, your body starts to release adrenaline in the body to keep you functioning at a high level. That is a problem because, you know, people have busy lives. The body needs carbohydrates for fuel. When you're not getting enough fuel, your body releases adrenaline. That burns out your adrenal glands and leads to all sorts of other problems. Creates a drop in blood sugars. Adrenal glands have to step in to produce cortisol to pull glycogen out of the liver and the muscles. It's problematic for the liver. The liver is in charge of breaking down all those fats. It becomes sluggish and stagnant and sick when it's got too much fat in the body. And from the heart's point of view, it's in charge of pumping blood around the body, and when it's thick with sludgy fat in the blood, it's going to have a really hard job doing that. And also, a high-fat diet will take out fruit naturally, which is a problem because fruit is so important for healing the body. So I hope that was helpful for you today. Thank you for listening to those that are watching live, and also to those of you who are watching the replay. I've got to go off and get myself organised for my breakfast for day one of the liver cleanse. I've got it all planned out. I'm having a beautiful smoothie bowl with lots of good fruit in it. I can't wait. So thanks everyone. I'll catch you same time, same place next week. Bye.